Welcome to the Journey of the Unordinary, a podcast where you can dive into the fascinating journeys of the unordinary people to find a piece of yourself in their stories and let their adventures inspire your own. This is Jackie.
And this is Chuxin. Join us as we carry out an intimate conversation with our guests and celebrate the shared tapestry of life together. In this season, we'll bring you 10 episodes of 10 guests centered around tech and data.
In this origin episode, we'll ask each other why we wanted to start this podcast, who should listen, and what you can expect from this podcast. So, Chuxin, why did you want to start this podcast?
Well, I think doing podcasts has always been like on my to-do list. And I think during pandemic, I was about to start a podcast with my roommate, and then everything back to normal, and we just ended up recording one episode. So when Jackie talked about this idea, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, because we always know that there are things that you can learn from every single person around you, and there are so many talented people around us. So that's why we want to start this podcast and start interviewing people and learn about their journeys.
Nice.
So what about you, Jackie?
So for me, I think one of the things I realize I'm really passionate about is to talk to people and understand their journey to where they are now, hence the name of the podcast. So the more I talk to different people, the more I realize maybe I should start a podcast doing exact this, what I do in life anyways, but then share that with the wider audience. Because I do feel like something I always say is like humans are all beautiful. Like we're all so similar, but like so not similar in different ways. And I want to be able to like learn that about other people and be able to like share that with all the other people.
Right. So who should listen to our podcast, and what can our audience expect from our podcast?
Yeah, good question. I think if you're a curious explorer, you should listen to our podcast. So if you're curious and like always want to learn and discover other people's stories and different perspective, then you should listen to this podcast. And if you are a lifelong learner and you believe in continuous kind of like learning both professionally and both personally, you should listen to this podcast. And if you really enjoy deep, meaningful, and authentic conversation, then this is also a podcast for you. How about you?
Yeah, so from my perspective, everyone is on the road and everyone is on their own journey. You might be already on a path and you're running, but you might also be at a crossroads. And I think, and I hope that from this podcast, you can get inspiration from all the different people that we are about to talk to, and find inspirations in their stories and create your own. So stay tuned for our very first pilot episode with our very special guest.
See you next week.